Aloha worm Ohana. You know, I've been promoting vermicomposting here on Oʻahu since 2005. I used to go around the island to give little workshops with an ounce of worms in a flower pot and got everybody started on doing vermicomposting. And I actually went through about 3,000 people in about 6 years doing weekend workshops all over. And to this day, I run into people who say to me, hey, you don't remember me, but I went to your workshop with an ounce of worms. I still have the same worm colony. I still have my worms and I love them and I can't imagine living without them. And it makes me so happy because vermicomposting is not a fluke. It's not a goofy hippie tree hugger thing. It is a real solid strategy for dealing with food waste reduction and increasing the fertility of our soil. And a lot of people have figured this out and are doing it more and more. But it's really fun to talk to the people that started way back when none of us knew what we were doing. And you know what? Over the years, we've kind of figured out some pretty good ways of working with our worms. So I'd like you to meet one of our veterans, and we're going to take a little trip and take a look at her worm system and talk about her particular story in growing her worm colony over 15 years. So, ready? Let's go. Hey, Bets.
Hey.
Hey.
Hi, Mindy.
Hey,
Hi,
we're here at your house. I can't
Hi.
believe it. We finally get to look at your wormies.
Welcome.
Yeah. Well, everyone, this is Betsy Dyer. She is one of our staff members at the Windward Zero Waste School, Hui. She's also the mom of Maeve and Morgan at Oʻahu School. And she's also one of my veteran vermicomposters because she came to a workshop in, we're thinking 2006.
2006.
2006. So she got that little ounce of worms, which is the size of a golf ball, in a little 8-ounce azalea pot. And we talked about how to feed them and put the paper cover on and water them and harvest them and all that. And off she went. And I run into her 15 years later and she says, you probably don't remember me, but, and I did remember her. And it's really great to renew that acquaintance and work together now. And we'd like to show you what became of that 1 ounce of worms over the past 15 years with Betsy. So Bets, tell us what you got here.
So these are my stacking tray systems. I have 3.
Can of worms.
It's called the can of worms.
Can of worms.
Back in 2006, I was in this little flower pot and I was just itching to get my worms into a bigger system. So I actually purchased one of them online. Back then, that was sort of the only sort of system that was available. And through the years, I got one on Craigslist. I actually scored one on the side of the road as well.
Oh yeah.
So I now have 3, which suits our family perfectly.
Because I think when you started, it was just you. You weren't married yet.
Right. So since I've started vermicomposting,
Yep.
I have gotten married.
Yep. Added a husband.
Added a husband, 2 children.
Okay. Added a couple of babies.
Right. And we live in a home with my mother. So 5 of us here. My husband is a firefighter. And so he also contributes food waste from the fire station. So between the 5 of us here and the firefighters at the Kahuku fire station, I feed these guys every couple of weeks anywhere between 15 and 25 pounds.
Yeah, we see that number jump up every time you report. And I go, oh, that's Betsy, all right. Yeah, pretty good. Can we take a look inside?
Yeah, let's take a look.
Okay.
So here's the top tray.
Okay, and I say, Bets, why don't you put more paper on top? And you say...
I say, I kind of didn't feel like it.
Yeah, you know, the can of worms instructions don't mention anything about paper. That may have been one of the things I've added. I feel more comfortable having food covered with paper, but it doesn't seem to have bothered your guys at all.
Well, because of the lid,
yeah.
I don't feel like I have to put a lot of paper. The lid also keeps a lot of moisture in these systems, so I don't water as often as we do at the schools as well.
Right, it is sort of an enclosed system, and most people find it's a pretty wet system.
Yes.
Things get really goopy
Yes.
in here, which is something we'll address down the line.
Okay.
But your worms seem to be doing okay. They all, of course, disappeared as soon as we looked in.
Sure.
But they're down there. Take a look. There we go. Hi, squirmers. Yeah, they're fine. There they are. Hello. Yep, they're overeating as usual because we have lots and lots of food waste these days. And I notice you put in eggshells, which
Yes.
I tell people don't, but why do you do that?
Well, it's part of our waste stream.
And you just feel you want to throw everything in.
Our goal has always been just to reduce our household waste.
Okay.
At the schools, we have the option of pulling out fantastic worm food, and the rest can go into hot compost piles.
Right.
We don't have a hot compost pile here at home. So in order to reduce our household waste, they really get a lot of stuff that we don't feed the worms at school.
Right, which is perfectly okay. The
Yeah.
idea is you're supposed to use it for your circumstances, which is your
Exactly.
household.
Exactly.
And I presume you got plenty of coffee grounds in there as
We
well.
have coffee grounds. The firefighters do a lot of rice, coffee grounds. There's
Mhm.
actually a guy who makes a smoothie every morning, so we get a lot of good fruit waste from them. And then just our usual household mix of stuff. I also put dryer lint in here.
I see, there's some dryer lint.
Anytime I
Hair.
drain a can of corn, you know, that liquid goes
Yeah,
in here.
yeah.
My husband cuts his hair. We put that in here.
Oh, that's so cool.
So
That's great.
We've just over the years added to what we put in the worm bin.
Right. Any organic waste that's generated by your household goes into the worms. I
Sure.
love it. Yeah, and that's what we want to happen. So let's take a look
Let's take a
underneath
look.
that first tray and
Maybe
see what it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you can kind of see the stuff that doesn't break down very well. Oh, you're growing mango.
Yeah, mango tree.
And and of course these are going to be with you forever,
right.
because all they're going to do is break down. And corn cobs, yes, they will eat through corn cobs, but it takes them a while. So the stuff that hangs around a while is still there, and of course so are they. Because even though this isn't the fresh, easy to eat stuff, they don't care. They're going to deal with whatever it is until it's completely gone. So you have plenty of worms in this second tray, but we can definitely see the soft stuff is gone, and what's left is the harder stuff. Like here's a
coconut.
coconut. Good grief, you are a brave girl. And this coconut's going to be around for a long
Yes.
time, but I see some millipedes working it, and I'm sure there's all kinds of worms that will be munching on this coconut, and it'll eventually disappear. And if not, it'll come out in the harvest.
Sure.
Yeah.
Should we go down and
Yeah, let's go and see the next tray. It should be a little bit more processed. And indeed it is. This is starting to look like vermicast to us. Oh, look at that. Okay, so those eggshells will be there forever. It's your choice. You want to put them in or not, because they're not going to go away. And it looks like there's still wormies working that bottom tray.
Yeah.
Okay. But look at that nice vermicast that they're creating. It's really getting more and more refined as we go down through the system.
You can see here, these are the holes.
Right. There's
at
holes on the
of
bottom.
each tray, so the worms can travel freely.
Up and down the different trays.
Yeah.
And of course they like to hang around in
Yeah,
the
and then, of
drainage
course,
tray
we have
underneath. Shall we see if they're down there?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I just harvested last week, so they shouldn't. Oh, yep, there they are.
There they are. They're hanging around, and there's some really fine vermicast because they're just hanging around pooping. And there's still some worms hanging around in there, and it's okay. I tell people don't panic. They like to go for a swim, so they do hang around in the puddles down below anybody's drip pan. And they're fine in the water for a little while as long as it's
Fine.
oxygenated, and they're
Yep.
certainly capable of crawling right out when it's time for them to rehydrate.
And I do find worms in here all the time. And
So do I.
just-
We are always looking for worms
them
in our
back in.
drainage.
Yeah,
Yep,
put them back in.
yep. So they get around, and they will follow water down. I mean, think of it. It's a survival tactic. Because if you're a worm living in Hawaii where it's hot and dry, if you don't go down looking for moisture, you're dead. So they will always travel down looking for moisture. So those of you with stacking tray systems, don't worry if you've got worms down below. And I would say the same for the people who have box bins on bricks. We often find a whole wad of worms right there under the bricks where it's puddled between the bin and the bricks. They like to hang around in the puddles. Okay, very cool. So you'll feed them, and how often do you harvest that bottom tray out?
So I'll do it once or twice a year.
Okay.
And I tend to do all 3 at a time.
Okay.
It's just faster that way. So I actually have some finished vermicast that I can show you.
Okay.
I also wanted to show you this cool screen.
Yes, I'm totally
sunscreen.
jealous. I'm going to make one for my
My
little
mother
worm
and I
area.
invented this. Above us, we have a nice kukui tree, but we had to trim it back a couple of years ago, and we were just getting the worms were just getting baked. So we just created this
This is so
just
cute.
shade cloth with
Uh-huh.
a bamboo pole in here to keep it shaped. Plenty of airflow. So in the afternoons, especially in the summertime, I will come out and put this down, give them a little bit more shade.
It's a really great idea because I've noticed that now the sun has shifted for winter, my worms are getting hit by the sun
Yeah.
for a few hours a day, and I kind of worry about them. So I think I'm going to rig up something like this.
Yeah.
It's really very clever. And the worms like to be cool. They just much prefer cool than hot. And at some points it can actually cook them. So very good, very good idea.
Yeah.
I think we can all adopt some kind of a shade if necessary. But this looks great, and you just have them up on some bricks.
Mhm.
And boy, you've had them for years. They're in
A
pretty
long
good
time.
shape.
They're longer than older than my kids.
Yeah, that's right.
Older
That's
than
right.
my
You had
kids.
worms before you had kids.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Can
And
I
I'm
show
sure-
you our vermicast?
Yes, absolutely. Let's take a look
Okay.
at your harvest.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, the wading pool, the ubiquitous wading pool.
Yes, I
Folks,
use a
if you don't
wading
have
pool.
one of these plastic wading pools, you absolutely need one
You
for
need
all
one.
kinds of reasons. But one of
Right.
them is to dry your vermicast out. And in this case, you can see there's still some wormies in
Still
here.
A lot of worms. Yes.
Yep, because there always are worms in the bottom tray. And one of the things I find is people don't harvest their stacking tray systems because they think that the worms are supposed to be out of the bottom tray. So when they see them down there, they just say, oh, they're not ready yet. They're all supposed to come up. That's what the directions say. And that is just simply not true. Your worms are going to be throughout the system, and they do like the very, very cool, finished, wet vermicast at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Yes.
just pull it out, worms and all. I have a little different way of doing it,
Okay.
which I'll explain when I do my little talk about stacking tray systems. But it doesn't matter because what works is the best way, and because you have a bunch of family members who enjoy helping with the worms, they all get to sit around the
Yeah,
pool
we sit around the wading pool
and
and
do search and rescue.
search and rescue, pick out the worms.
Yeah, we do that with the kids at school. They like to do search
Yeah.
and rescue.
Yeah,
Yep. So
it's fun.
yeah, it's just a nice family activity. And some people go, oh, no way am I doing that. I don't have the time. But in your case, in your particular family and the way you guys work and play together, it's the perfect solution. So there's no right or wrong way, everybody. It's just whatever works for you. And it's interesting to me that people kind of will find whatever suits their particular management style or their family situation or whatever. As long as somehow you separate those worms from the vermicast, because as you know, if these worms hit the garden, they're going to die, because these are not garden worms. They won't survive in a garden environment. So you do need to pull them out and stick them back in your bin if you want to keep them alive. Now on the mainland, where worms are dime a dozen, they don't bother, they'll just let the worms die off. They figure with every harvest, there's a 10% casualty rate. But here in Hawaii, oh man, we save every single worm.
Absolutely, and they're part of our family.
And they're part of our family.
So
we don't
we
want to
keep
lose
them.
any of them.
We keep them. Yeah.
Yep, and you've had your worms for 15 years.
15
it's
years.
the original colony. And I might point out that they're all perionyx.
Yes, they are.
They are, because we did not get Icenia, the red worm, until after you had long started. And you just, I think I put out a notice, hey, if you want red worms, come get them. And you never did. You just stuck with your original colony. So everybody in here is perionyx. You're perionyx people. And they work just fine. Most of us, just because all worm colonies now are mixed, have both perionyx and Icenia. But if you have one or the other worm, that's fine too. They're all epigeic composting worms. They all do the same work, and they're fine separately or together. So that's really cool. I like it. So Bets, the one thing I was not telling people back in the day when we started was that they should weigh their food and keep a log. We started doing that when we started working in the schools, because vermicomposting was science and we had to quantify, and we had to make a science lesson of it. We started doing it, and then we really got hooked on it. It's like it became a habit.
Sure.
We can't grab that. We can't do anything unless we grab that scale whenever we are feeding worms. Now that we're doing it as part of the worm Ohana, I'm really thrilled to see those numbers move up. I think that's just the coolest thing. And the one thing I regret is I didn't say back in 2005, please weigh your food and log it, because after 15 years between your growing family and the fire station, man, you're talking tons.
Yeah.
You're talking tons. And I would have loved to have that, have had that documented, because you'd be passing that journal on to your kids and they to their kids, and it goes through the family. I just think that is really an amazing piece of documentation to prove your contribution to waste diversion and enriching the fertility of soil as a worm family.
Sure.
So darn it, sorry about that. I wish I had mentioned it way back when.
That's been the goal all along, is to reduce our household waste. So imagine if we had been able to quantify it this entire time.
I know. We would have been so impressed.
But I have started.
Yes, because you joined the worm Ohana just so you can get your numbers up there.
I have started inputting my data once a week, anywhere between 15 and 25 pounds. It's fun to watch the number increase. It's in real time. As soon as I put it in, the number jumps.
I do the same thing.
So it's very fun. It's
reminding everybody, please weigh your food, log your data. You don't have to enter it every single week. You can, do it for a while, add it up, and just do one report if you want. That's fine with us. We don't care, as long as we get your numbers in. So just a reminder, don't forget to weigh and log and report. That is part of the fun of doing this as a great big group. And man, I wish I had all 3,000 of you that went through my workshops all those years. We would definitely be in the hundreds of tons by now, I think.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah, so again, hey, thank you very much. It's really great to see your system. Oh, wait a minute. Don't you have a lateral flow?
I do.
Let's go look at that one too. Okay.
Here's the lateral flow.
Lateral flow.
Yeah.
And when you have a lot of food waste, the lateral flow is the way to go.
Okay, so I'm feeding on this side.
Okay. Yep, you sure are.
Harvested this one recently as well. So these are newly moved over.
Yep, and they're so excited to be in fresh bedding.
Yep.
They love to be in fresh bedding. They get a little tired hanging out in their own poop. And I mean, really, who wouldn't? Who would rather be in fresh bedding? I think we all would. Nice. Okay, they look very healthy and robust. Okay. And I see you use plenty of paper in the lateral flow. Yes,
I do. I do this more in the way that we do the school bins.
Okay, so and here is the side that is now going to be finishing.
Side.
The resting side.
Really pretty
Already looking beautiful. Oh, yeah.
We've got frogs in here.
Got lots of things sprouting.
Yes.
It's pretty typical. Yes. And still plenty of worms, because they take their time.
Yeah.
They're going to take a full 6 months to move over to the other side before you're ready for your harvest. Yes. So you got the lateral flow just because you had so much, right?
Yeah, with the fire station food coming in, we had too much for the stacking trays, and I wanted to try one of these systems as well. So just happened to luck into one.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I'm really glad you did, because when you're working with a lot of food waste, it can get tedious doing, the stacking tray harvesting. This is a much, much easier way when you have a lot of food waste and you're dealing with a lot of vermicast. So I'm glad you had the experience of doing this as well. So stacking tray is great for small amounts.
Sure.
Once you get bigger, lateral flow is the way to go, as we say.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it all works fine. The worms are happy either way. And there's, as many ways of managing your worms as there are vermicomposters. I think if you talk to 20 vermicomposters, you'd find 20 different ways of doing things, and they're all good.
Yes.
And the worms are so versatile and cooperative. They will just adjust to you.
Yeah, whatever works for your family.
Yeah, they'll just adjust to it. They don't care.
They'll work with it.
I know, they never complain. They're so great. Very industrious. They give and give and give, and they never complain. They're just terrific. Okay, well, thanks, Bets.
You're welcome.
Really
Thanks
enjoyed
for coming.
And we'll see you around. And we're Ohana. Hope you enjoyed our first visit with a vermicomposting veteran. We're going to visit some other people too. Thanks so much. Take care of your worms. Water them daily. Feed them generously. Put fluffy paper on top. And don't forget to weigh and log
your
and report.
data.
Your data is important to us. Thanks so much. Aloha.